Yes, yes, yes. Bienvenidos a todos los locos del Punk Rock Raduno. Siamo nella settimana calda. We are in the really, really heavy week of Punk Rock Raduno because Punk Rock Raduno, second worst Raduno, is going to happen in just a few days. And here we are, even we are struggling, organizing and trying to face the last challenges of booking a punk rock festival during a pandemic. Here we are still streaming on Twitch. In my room is like 40 degrees Celsius. I'm basically burning. Like I feel like right now. And from the other side, I see my good old friend Andrea, tan as never before and happy. Andrea.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you, Franz. I can see from the chat that we have with the Raduno staff that the guys are, very, very busy. And I just want to thank everybody that works on the festival in advance because the festival is happening, I remind you, in a few days. But really, I see I see the staff working very hard. I believe we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes, Arthur, welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. And yes, 16th, 17th, and 18th, actually 15th too, because we have the welcome night of the festival. Second worst Raduno in Bergamo. You can still reserve your seat. It's free. And it's going to be double capacity compared to last year. Still pandemic, still socially distanced, and still secure if you want to be secure, but with way more bands, way more things, way more activities. And it's hard to say this. It's hard to see this from the public perspective. But booking a festival, even a smaller version of Punk Rock Raduno during this period, is double the effort. But we want to do it just because, first of all, we want to have fun, and because we think in some way that our scene and the punk rock scene and what we like needs and deserve some couple good days of punk rock, do it yourself, and just see friends that you don't see since a long time. I guess for many people it's gonna be the first time they're gonna see a show since 2 years now. So it's gonna be
that's probably it for many people. Yeah. I think so. They can't wait.
And not only a show, punk rock show, because we are going to have almost 20 bands over 3 days, and we're going to have sport. We are going to have magazines and fanzines. We're going to have school for kids, the punk rock school, and School of Punk Rock, actually, by Massi Lanciasassi from Licis.
Yeah, it's going to be a workshop for kids happening on Saturday afternoon.
And also we are gonna launch to the space, the first Ramones record. And so
I brought a model. This is a model of what we're gonna launch.
Yes, that's exactly that one. It's exactly is a 15 meters tall. We went because we had to declare the fact that we are going to fly something out of Edonè, which is the venue. So I just discovered that it's 15 meters tall. So it's really it's going to be.
It is quite big. I don't know how we're going to fit it in front of the stage. I have no idea.
I think no one even realized yet what is going to happen. So let's see.
And we're going to drink to the lounge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Let's see. Arthur says way more merch. Andrea is about the light. You spent the last week in the sun. Yes. He's lucky enough that he's living in La Spezia, so he can go to the beach every day, even if he's working. Is the only thing missing in Bergamo is the sea.
Oh, you know what happened last week in my club in La Spezia? We had a customer. He was a Spanish guy, and it was like 4 days ago. He came alone, and he just told me, I'm traveling across Italy, and next week I'm going to be at the Raduno. This guy is from Barcelona. Amazing.
That's beautiful. I have an even more crazy story. Because you know you know them really well, but the Scotty Ramone family, you know,
Yeah, sure.
we should actually call it a Ramone family because their actually name is Ramone. The second name is Ramone. You know, they come from UK, and right now, if you come to UK, you need basically a 5-day quarantine before
Hmm.
being able to travel and go around Italy. So
Sure.
they were unable to come to Raduno, you know, because if they fly in, they have to spend 5 days. So
Yeah.
what they did is they canceled their tickets and they rebooked some early tickets. So they are right now staying in a hotel close to the hotel, and they are spending their quarantine in order to stay at the festival.
Oh my
So,
God.
you know, for everyone, you know who I'm talking about. You know, for everyone meeting Scott and his family, you know who to give, you know, to offer the first beer to, because they deserve it so much, you know, for their
Great guy.
dedication. They even been at Raduno last year for the, you know, the worst Raduno ever. You know, they were a few people coming from outside of Italy, able to come from outside of Italy. So they
Yeah.
really deserve it. So, oh, I see a lot of people is, hey
Yeah, I met
ho,
them.
I'm here,
I met them
Dave.
in the late '90s. I remember touring UK, and they've been introduced to me as this guy changed his last name into Ramone, and
Yeah,
and that's crazy enough that I remember about him, and I got him on Facebook a few years ago. Yeah,
yeah, he
it was
deserves all
easy.
respect.
It was his last name is Ramone, which is kind of easy.
That's the ultimate, you know, fan thing to do. If you know, there are a couple things to do. We're going to ask our guest today, but you know, one of the things is like calling maybe your daughter, like, you know, Ramona, or you know, your son Joey or Johnny or Didi, or you know, and but yeah, the ultimate thing is you know, changing your name into for real into Ramon. So if they are listening, thank you so much. We cannot wait to see you. And a couple more things before announcing, you know, and presenting to you our guest for tonight. And we just announced the raffle prizes. You know that Raduno is free, and it's free because of the generous donations of people coming, a generous donation of A, which is the venue, and all the venues involved. But you know, the raffle keep us alive, and you know, so many sponsors and partners and just, you know, volunteers and friends donated something, and we have a long list of beautiful things that are, you know, prizes for the raffle. There is a beautiful heart part from Manuel Cossu from the Menges.
I can show
Yes.
it to you. I can show it to you
Oh,
right now
yes,
if you
please.
want. Let me
Show
let me
me.
take it.
Yes. And then we have a custom-made guitar, acoustic guitar by Yemen's Guitar. It's worth a lot of money, and they're going to customize it during the days of the festival. And that this is a new thing. And then we have so many art projects and donations from artists all over the world, and even like a trip to a bed and breakfast in the southern France offered by Patrick Ramone. And yeah, show me the art of Manuel. I
I can
want
show
that.
this to you. This is one of the main prizes from my drummer Manuel, which he's an artist, and he's been doing this project where he draw on the medicine. I don't know how do you call those paperwork that stays in the medicine box. How do you call that? I
Yeah,
don't.
it's a drug prescription something. I don't know. I
Something.
actually don't
Okay,
know.
that's it.
I wrote it somewhere.
Yeah,
I
he
wrote
gave
it
it to
somewhere.
me because I'm bringing it to the festival when I'm coming to
Cool.
Bergamo. There's a certificate of authenticity from the artist, and it's signed. And this is the piece, which is awesome.
Nice. I like the fact that he's quoting like the Morse right guitars, and it's
Yeah,
beautiful. It's beautiful. I want that. Can you do something about making me win those
you should
things?
buy a lot of tickets.
No, I will. But actually, I can tell you the name of that. It's Drag Facts Leaflet painted by Manuel Cosso. This
Okay,
is
this is his project.
what it's
He's
called.
doing a
I don't
big
know.
exposition in Rome in autumn with these pieces, but
Ah,
he's doing a lot of them. They're getting they got like a good price for the moment, but they're raising already from
I
art
know because
collectors, which is
Manuel is
crazy if
becoming
you
a big
think about it.
artist.
But he deserves it.
Yes, he's becoming a big artist. Look who is following the live stream. Scotty Ramone. We were
Hey,
talking about
that's
you.
hot.
We are looking forward to this. Scotty, Jenny, and Sarah and Ramon. Oh, I cannot wait. There are so many beautiful stories of him, but we're gonna tell later. And just another thing, if you want to participate to the raffle and you're not planning or you cannot come to the festival, there is a way to buy the raffle tickets online. You just go to Punk Rock Raduno merch section in our website, punkrockraduno.com, and you can buy your ticket and try to win the beautiful art of Manuel, the guitar from Yemen's Guitar, and so many other prizes. You just go to our pages, social pages, and you see everything. So as is I'm boiling here, and people is probably tired of listening to us talking about this stuff. We were not supposed to do this tonight. We were not supposed to have like a streaming during the days of the last days of organizing Punk Rock Raduno, but it just happened that the I don't know what the magic of punk rock made happen that we got in contact with one of our heroes, in particular one of my heroes, because being a tour manager, having I consider myself a driver and tour manager, and that's what I did most of the time of my life, and being a fan of his books, and I always liked him and his spirit and what he wrote and what he did for my favorite band, our favorite band, best band in the world, the Ramones. So we could not say no. Yeah. So we could not say to an interview with this guy, and so here we are, and we are so excited. Yes, that's it. The best Ramones book, and the author of the best Ramones book ever is the tour manager, the one and only tour manager for the Ramones, Monte Melnick. Here you are.
Ciao. Hey ho, andiamo.
Welcome.
And this is the new book, by the way.
Yeah. I believe my version is the first.
That's one of the. Yeah, that's one of the first. That's one of the first editions. It's been about 3 editions of the book already.
And what's in the last edition? What's new?
Well, 40 more pages. I talk about Arturo and the backdrop and the managers, and I put in a bunch about the new signs, street signs, and awards, and all sorts of stuff in there. Lots of images.
Yeah. A book is really good when you have many editions of the book, because I have 3 different copies, 3 different editions. I have the first one autographed by you, because when it came out, it was, which year was the first edition coming out?
2004.
2004, and there were not so many
my one is
books. Yeah.
Where did I do that for you? Where did I autograph that for you?
I believe I got the copies autographed, but we didn't meet in person.
No, I know where we had it, Andrea. Our common friend Arianna, that was living in New York at the time, and she helped us booking the festival, and she bought a lot of books for us, and she sent us the autograph book, like for me, for Andrea.
My autograph is 2003.
Huh.
No, 2003, late 2003, 2004. Yeah. Right,
cool.
Right.
So that's how we got it, Andrea. And then I have the Italian edition.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, here's the Italian edition.
And then I love the book so much.
Sulla Strada. We're kind of linked to Fellini's La Strada.
Yeah, on the road.
Exactly.
And Roger, I want to give a shout out to Roger Brunello, who translated the book for me. Good friend of mine. He's called Roger Rocker now, but hello, Roger out there.
We already have a lot of.
He's in Treviso, but up in the north there, in Treviso.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
That's where they invented tiramisu, by the way.
What is that?
Tiramisu was invented in Treviso.
Really? Tiramisu?
That's what he says. That's what he told me.
It's possible.
It tastes good up there, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
We believe him.
And my favorite Prosecco wine's done in that area up there.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Aldo Biadene.
Love
is,
the
is there.
Prosecco.
We
Yeah.
know about alcohol. Yes.
we know about the alcohol and the tiramisu. We are good.
I love
And
Italy.
pizza too.
Ciao, Italy.
Yes, we have people connected from Germany. We have people connected from the UK. All for you. And back in 2003, 2004, when this, the first edition of the book came out, there were not like so many books or about the Ramones. And so I remember specifically like when yours came out, it was a revelation because it was so good, and there was everything you dreamed about knowing about the Ramones. That's the feeling when it came out.
Yeah, that's what I tried to put in the book. I think there was one more book before me, the Jim Bestman book, An American Band.
Yeah.
It came out before me, and then my book came out. And the good part about my book is that they let me put in a lot of pictures and images and all sorts of tour passes and itineraries. And there's over like 300 or so images in a book, which is really good. Usually the book's like text, some pictures in the middle, text. But the art director on the book was really terrific. So they let me put in a lot of pictures and images. Yeah. That's from The Simpsons, by the way. That's from The Simpsons. Happy birthday.
Good read and also a fun read because of all those images.
Arturo.
Yeah.
I talk about, I go into, over the years, there was so much different things happening. So I had to keep on putting up new editions on my book. So this final bonus edition, by the way, has 40 more pages. And I try to put in a lot of different things. I talk about the different managers and the awards they got. And I talk a little bit about each studio album, stuff like that, so.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, for example, a new part of the book. If I'm not
that's
wrong.
That's all the murals in Forest Hills that they put up. It's amazing.
Beautiful. And as soon as I heard about this new edition, and you can recognize it by bonus edition here, and also the
Ramones are in
title.
red.
Yeah, it's in red. You can recognize it. I just got it, and it's the 40 more pages are totally worth owing a second copy of the book. So so many things to talk about. We just want to say, guys, if you want to ask your question, you can start going. And because me and Andrea, I guess we have enough questions to go on for like some hours probably. And so
I can start with a very easy question that comes up on my mind. How do you see the Ramones fans, since the band ended its career? You've been in touch with all the Ramones fans over the world because of your book and your history. And I wanted to know if you notice a difference in the fans. Are they more? Are they less? Just older? Different? What's the approach from the fans to the band in your experience?
A lot more. I mean, over the years, it just keeps on growing and growing. It amazes me how big the Ramones are now. I mean, people say Stones, Beatles, Ramones in the same sentence, It's terrific. And more, even it's funny because you see these young kids, they never saw the Ramones. They just heard the Ramones and they like the Ramones, and there's a whole new generation of kids out there now. It amazes me, By the way, one of the first fan clubs was the Italian fan club. I have to give a shout out to Maurizio, Nadari, and Paolo. Yeah, right. That was one of the first. Italy was one of the first places to have a Ramones fan club, and they were really great. They followed us around. It was terrific.
That's good. Do you think why there was this really strong connection between the Ramones and Italy? Because I really think from what we heard from interviews and stuff, like from people from Austria, from Switzerland, that they were coming to Italy to see the Ramones, and here it seemed like they had a really strong and wild crowd, and it feels like even like with our festival and with punk rock scene being really strong in Italy, probably there was something in particular that made connected Italy with Ramones. If you think so, I don't know. We feel that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, as I said, one of the first fan clubs was the Italian fan club. So they develop a big following, and they'd follow us around and spread the word. was great. Everywhere we played in Italy, we had the Italian fan club there, spreading around. So it was big, you know.
Yeah.
It really helped a lot.
Maybe there's a connection, in my opinion, with the Latin countries like Spain, Italy, and even South America. There's a connection to the Ramones that is somehow deeper than what happened in other countries. Is that true?
I would say that. You know, in South America, there's a huge following. Argentina, Brazil, Chile. It's amazing the following there. And well, as I said, because Italy had the fan club, and in South America we got to play a lot of play on the radio there, and the promoter promoted us a lot there, more than other places. So it developed a big following in those countries. And Spain was terrific also. We toured there a lot. So the more we toured, you know, the Ramones were a touring band, basically. They couldn't sell albums in the beginning, really. So they had to make their meat and potatoes touring, basically, you know.
Yeah.
So we got to get back to the countries a lot. You know, each country, Spain, Italy, South America, we came back over and over again and developed a big following. That's why, you know, it happened that way.
Yeah. So let's talk about touring, as you mentioned it, because, you know, I said, like, you are one of my heroes because as a tour manager, you know, there are a few tour managers that are iconic, you know, that, you know, and also few tour managers that basically were part of the band. Because if I think about tour manager of the Ramones, it's you. You know, there is no other. You know,
well, there's no other.
There
was nobody there but me, basically. Well, Mickey Lee was in the beginning. He did a little bit, but then I took over basically for the whole thing for over 20 years.
So, and I think the tour manager job is interesting because, and not so many people know about this, is many different things together, because you're not only, you know, taking care of business, but you're a little bit of a psychiatric. Sometimes you're a little bit of a teacher. Sometimes you're a bit of a manager. Sometimes you're a bit of a marketing guy. You know, you have to be everything together, condensated. And I always think, you know, it must have had been very hard to be, you know, the tour manager of the Ramones, because not only, you know, you're dealing with the best band, one of the best, to me, the best band ever, but also a complicated band, you know, because there were so many different and beautiful people, but really different. And so stay in the middle of these, you know, different powers and different thinkings and different things. Must have been a little bit complicated.
Yeah, you know, as I say, I not only had to deal with a band, but a crew also, a crazy crew and a crazy band that doubled the nutty people around me, you know. So you have to bring it all together, you know. It's a big job, and people don't realize. That's what I try to put in my book. What a tour manager goes through. I, you know, put in itineraries and the stuff to get in the dressing rooms and the stage plots, and talk about what it is to be a tour manager. Also, people really don't realize, you know, when people go to a concert or something, they see the band on stage.
Yeah.
They don't realize there's the band on stage, but underneath the band on stage is a foundation. There's a crew there. If you have a lousy sound man, you don't sound good. If you have a lousy light man, you don't sound good. A drum roadie, the drummer's not going to sound good. The guitar roadie, the guitar is going to be out of tune. So there's all these people underneath the band that people don't really realize that is there. You know, that's what I try to bring out in my book. So I talk to a lot the crew and the band also in my book.
No, but can you explain us a little bit, like, you know, average day in a Ramones tour, like when you wake up and what you have to do during the day?
Let me say something. There's no average days in the touring. There's no average there.
Only extraordinary.
Every single day is different, you know. No matter, even you come back to the same city, it's different. Everything's different, you know. It's all different circumstances you have to deal with. You have to deal with it. You got to be diplomatic and deal with a lot of circumstances that come into you, and deal with the whole situation. It's a wonderful job if you can do it, you know. And you know what it's like, right, Franz?
Yeah, no. But I was wondering, where did you learn to do it?
That's the thing. There's no tour manager school or anything. what I have with me basically was I started from the bottom up. I mean, I started doing sound for them.
Yep.
In the studio with the performance studios.
Yep.
And then they said, hey, well, I have a job in CPGs. I went out and did the sound. And then all of a sudden they started getting jobs. They said, why don't you come with us? So then I was, shopping the equipment, driving, setting up, doing the whole thing. So I learned from the bottom up, basically.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like all of a sudden, boom, I'm the road manager. No, that's how I learned, basically, working with the band from the bottom up, seeing how it, going to the club, setting up, schlepping the equipment, driving around, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So as the band was becoming bigger, you were becoming more experienced and ready to work on a higher level.
The bigger they got, the more people we can hire. So they hired a regular sound man, and then we can get roadies and drum roadies, guitar roadies, and of course Arturo, the terrific Arturo, wish he was around. Lighting, and he did all the merchandising. So it graduated, I mean, we're talking about 22 years on the road there. So it started small and built up.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what fascinates me a lot, because you said like before, like you have to be diplomatic, but there is also a personal level of being a tour manager that, a band don't stay with the same tour manager if the tour manager is not an essential part of the band. You know what I mean? Because you see a lot of bands now, they just change crew and stuff. But, I'm sure you were important in a personal level more than, what you can say about, the stage presence or the driving or the organization. Like, what was your important part in the personal level, if you think you had?
The lucky thing I had was, I mean, most tour managers, you go out with a band and the tour ends and then you go look for another band, basically,
Yeah.
With me, I was lucky enough; they needed me enough, so they kept me around to do videos, do the movie, to coordinate rehearsals. There was enough work for me to be there all after the tour came off. But they toured so much, so they needed somebody around, full time, basically, because one tour ended, and a couple of weeks later they go on another tour. So I was lucky enough to be there from the beginning to the end. I'm actually the only one alive today that was with the Ramones from the beginning to the end. It would have been Arturo and myself, but poor Arturo died a few years ago. So I'm actually the only one there that was from the beginning of the Ramones to the end of the Ramones. So I was lucky enough that they had enough work for me, they kept me around. Thank goodness,
I believe you were the guy whose phone was ringing and whose fax machine was working even when the band was on the stop from one tour to the other, right?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
were
I mean,
working on the next tour when you were instead of relaxing at home.
Absolutely, yeah. And when they came off tour, they would rehearse for a couple of weeks. So I had to get the crew in there and make sure everything was, get the band into the rehearsal studios. So it was enough work for me to be around enough when they were not on the road. So I was lucky with that. It's very few tour managers get to do that.
They say you were the glue of the Ramones. I agree on that. Because sometimes the tour manager is the glue. I mean, it's, me and Andrea have been more than, enough on the road to know, that you need someone, for an outside perspective, but also sometimes a janitor or a babysitter, a few bands. So
yeah, babysitter. That's one of them.
I don't know if you felt like that a couple times.
Oh, of course, all of that basically. Yeah, that's the thing. People really don't realize it's a big job. I mean, road manager, tour manager. The bigger the group gets, the more people they get. There's, the big groups have production managers, catering managers, tour managers, accountants, blah 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 blah. But when I worked my way up to tour manager, I was doing like accounting and all the other road managing and all that stuff too. Doing, getting all the tours together and the itinerary. So it was a fascinating job. It really kept me busy. I really liked it.
What about the merchandise? Because if I remember correctly, like the Ramones survived a lot, counted a lot on merchandise, and that was not so common back in those days, like to sell T-shirts and stuff.
Well, yeah, they realized that that was one of the meat and potatoes of the Ramones, just touring and merchandising. They realized that they could really make a lot of money selling T-shirts and little knickknacks on the road, and Arturo was the main part of that. I give them a lot of credit. I wish I got my little piece into that, boy. That's
Yeah. No, exactly.
they made a lot of money with the merchandise. That's what kept them on alive. They didn't sell a lot of albums because they had a tour and sell merchandise basically.
Do,
And
do you
Arturo was
remember?
really behind that.
Do you remember which year you started like designing and selling T-shirts
Well,
on tour?
from the beginning, Arturo basically. In the beginning, we couldn't afford to take him on the road, so we said, Arturo, print up some T-shirts,
Yep.
take them on the road, sell them. That'll pay your expenses. They'll make a little money, and that's how he started, basically.
Yep.
So it was right from the beginning. They really realized when Arturo started selling shirts at these venues, there was some money there. People really wanted that, And he was a terrific designer. And there's a whole chapter in my book about the designing of the different phases of the Ramones T-shirts. I mean, it was just in the beginning, just the Ramones name, and then there was a weird little eagle, and then he got the whole logo in there, which was terrific.
Yeah.
And I talk about that in my book about the evolution of the logo, how he took the Great Seal of the United States and developed that. It was one time we were in Washington, D.C., and Arturo saw the Great Seal and said, wow, there's something going on here. Because the original shirts just had the name Ramones on it, and then a little weird little eagle that he had on his belt buckle. And then he saw the logo and took off from there. And that's one of the biggest selling T-shirts now out there. Wow.
Yeah. It's iconic. Iconic.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that and CBGBs, and those are big sellers.
The other day, actually, talking about the T-shirt and the Ramones, there's a lot, you know that sometimes rock and roll fans or punk rock fans they like to complain or sometimes being a little bit snobbish about things. But one of the things that we discuss always about is that the fact that you now can find like Ramones T-shirts on big brands like H&M or big clothing brands and stuff like that. And some consider that positive, and some consider that kind of outrageous because you have a lot of people wearing the Ramones, the iconic Ramones, logo without knowing actually about the band just because it looks cool. Where do you stand? Like, what do you think about this?
No, it doesn't bother me. I mean, if somebody sees a Ramones shirt, they say, "Hey, what's that?" Maybe they'll go and listen to a Ramones song, possibly. And then the bigger the person wearing it, the more people see it. So for me, it's terrific. I wish I had a piece of that. The more the merrier. It doesn't bother me. Sometimes you walk up to somebody, hey, you're wearing a Ramones shirt. Do you know anything about the Ramones? Say, well, who are the Ramones? I said, well, but that's okay. So somebody will see it, maybe listen to it, listen to a song or something. It'll inspire them. So it's that in the long run, I think it's good.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. There's there's nothing like there's nothing negative about someone wearing the Ramones shirt, it's like never.
That's I feel that way too.
So, but I'm sure you were also you were wishing that the Ramones were here to enjoy a little bit of that money too. I guess because
my God. The four original. Actually, yesterday the 7-11 was the day Tommy died, 7 years ago.
Okay. Yes.
What a shame. The four originals people in the Ramones that developed the whole thing are not here. I mean, there's other Ramones. There's Marky, CJ, Richie, Elvis is out there. But the original four Ramones are not here. What a sad thing to see how big they are.
Yeah.
And how much they've influenced people over the years.
Yeah. In a way, it's kind of unfair. It's because they toured so much. And they gave so much, and they believed in it so much. They had the strength to endure. For many years. And
that's a Ramones song, by the way.
Yeah, and so it's of course they deserved like the status of being legendary and a Hall of Fame, and the fact that beside the money part. The fact that people still listen and remember, that's the great thing. And the fact that people like us book festivals thinking about the spirit of the Ramones and stuff. It's, in some way.
The whole Ramones Corps thing, that amazes me too,
Exactly. Have you heard about the Ramones Corps?
Yeah, I saw the interview with CJ you had. There was a great interview. CJ's terrific, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I love CJ. That's amazing, the whole Ramones core thing.
Yeah, it's strange because there always have been punk bands influenced by the Ramones, and there's been a lot of punk bands heavily influenced by the Ramones. But as time passed, the younger punks started to call these kind of bands Ramones core, and some of us hated it. I'm just neutral about it. I don't care. I believe. I mean, like my band has always had Ramones as an inspiration, and we never tried to deny this. I mean, we've been probably working on it a lot because that's our favorite band. That's the reason we got together as a band. We wanted to start a band because we wanted to sound like the Ramones. So there's nothing wrong about it. If more than 20 years later, 25, my band is called Ramones Core, I don't care. It's
Good,
okay.
good.
We
That's
do it.
fine.
We do it with respect, with love, with passion, and I think it's good to carry the spirit on
No, it's
because
nice. It's
it's
really
a very
nice.
good spirit to carry on. For us, the Ramones represents a lot of things, even a lot of controversial ideas, different ideas that can stand together and be very very powerful. I believe there's a great message behind the Ramones.
Yeah,
Ramones
I agree.
history.
Yeah, that's
So,
amazing.
what do you think? What do you think the Ramones history means?
What do I think of the Ramones' history means?
Yeah, like what is it gonna
Well,
inspire? Why is it so inspiring? Beside the great music, beside the great music, if I'm a Ramones fan, why the history?
I think the legacy of the Ramones basically was. I don't know if you know anything about Johnny Appleseed. He was a guy in the 1800s that went around the United States planting apples all over the place. I think the legacy of the Ramones basically was they went to all these different cities, small cities, big cities, all over the world, and kids saw them and said, "Hey, if you can do that, you don't have to be like Yes or a technical Eric Clapton on a guitar or something like that. If you can do, if they can do that, we could do that too," and inspire a lot of bands to really pick up and make and form bands all over the world and in the United States. That's the legacy of the Ramones, basically. So, I mean, all these big groups give the Ramones credit for them forming. There's one time we were in Ohio and these kids came back and said, "Hey, we're Metallica. We love you guys." Metallica. 1996, we're on the Lollapalooza tour. Who's headlining? Metallica's headlining. Soundgarden, Rancid, and then the Ramones. But when I put the Ramones on stage, I'm standing there, and there's Metallica, Soundgarden. They're all on the side of the stage. They're fans. They became big fans. They were big fans, and they said they became friends with the Ramones. They said that you guys inspired us to form a group. That's the legacy of the Ramones. I mean, like U2, look at that song that they wrote, the Miracle of Joey Ramone. U2, for God's sakes, Eddie Vedder, Pearl Jam, another one. It was, all these bands all these kids saw the Ramones basically when they were kids. Said, you don't have to be unbelievably great musician, just good songs, played competently, and you too can do it. You two did it, of course. But that's the legacy of the Ramones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing that is now, the Ramones are so big now. As I said before, the people say Beatles, Stones, Ramones. So I tell this joke a million times. I'll tell you it once again. If the Ramones were this big when I was working for them, I would have gotten a freaking big raise. But
yeah.
But I'm, over the years, I'm happy to continue the legacy and talk about the Ramones. It just continues. It goes on and on. It amazes me.
Yeah. No, it's it's I think there is also, what was mentioning also Andrea before, it was like, this is the legacy, as you said, like the importance is like, do it your own way. It doesn't matter if you are good with the guitar or not, if you have something to express. And CJ was mentioning this a lot, do it your own way, do it, even if you don't know to play or you are not like a, virtuoso and stuff like that, you can still do something positive and create art and express yourself. I think there is also like a sort of I don't know if it's philosophical, power of the Ramones, because in a world that is really, polarized, everyone is against everyone, and you can be this and you can be that, and you have to be in a way or another way, you have to be from right to left and stuff like that. It shows that, the greatness comes from variety, and that band was, to me, the essential of variety, because you had like four individuals that were totally different in many ways, political ways, and you had like a different kind of people. Like, Joey was more like, the heart, as CJ said, and then you had someone that was really good in managing, and and there was a strong, and then you had someone that was more like chaotic, but in a way genius. So you had these different individuals that together they form something special, not four guys that are the same. That's the philosophical part to me that is important with the Ramones. Did you feel that, or
well, any really big good group, you look at the Beatles, they were all different in ways too. And McCartney was less edgy, Lennon was more edgy, and Harrison was a different way, and Ringo Starr. That's the thing. It was a chemistry of all four of them that really bubbled into the Ramones, basically.
Yeah. So I always wonder, how hard was it to be in between all these different like people, in a personal level? Did you ever went on the road like into fights, or you had always to be the one to settle things or to divide people during?
No, it wasn't that bad. I mean, people that kind of blew out the thing with Johnny and Joey way over than it really was. Because they grew up together, they formed the band together. The thing with Linda and Johnny and Joey kind of polarized them in a way, but they realized basically, don't fight. If they fight and hate each other, then the Ramones would break up. They realized when the Ramones were more than just those two just talking to each other, but they did communicate.
Yeah.
What the thing was the music, when they went on stage and they got the feedback of the audience.
Yeah.
You guys are musicians. I was a musician, and when I went on stage, that feedback, it's a high, They loved that. They went out on the stage, and so that was the Ramones. They didn't want to really break that up. So basically they didn't at the end there, they didn't really socialize a lot, but they talked. They had to talk about, different songs on albums and different set lists and stuff like that. It wasn't as bad as people made it out to. In the band, basically, a lot of our tour buses, they would just separate and listen to their own music and not really socialize. I was out of other groups. I worked with D-Generation with Jesse Malin. That was a whole other thing. They were like joking around and funny and ha. It was a different thing. The Ramones basically kept to themselves, but they realized that their whole thing on stage and the music they were putting together and putting on albums was much better than fighting and breaking it up. So that's why they kept together. I mean, how many marriages last 20 years? So they kept it around for, they realized that music was the important thing.
That's nice. Yeah, I heard about this because, there are so many stories. Also the documentary, which end of the century, they focus on a lot of, they always focalize on those aspects. I think because they want to say a story, and sometimes, the story doesn't, really follow too much the truth. Because I read like about Linda Ramone saying the same things you said, like that. She was like, no, I spoke with Joey and I spoke with, of course, Johnny until the end, and that it was not like they said in the documentaries or in the movies, and
it got overblown over the years. Basically, people like to juice it up a bit to make it look like it's more than it was there.
Yeah. Do you think that happens a lot with the Ramones in general, or it's just?
What do you mean? What do you mean a lot?
No, I mean that sometimes just to say a good story or just to spice it up a little bit, that now like the way that we see or that the Ramones are told are different than the reality.
That happens a lot with anything, any story, any history, any band. Whether people read into things that are not there, it makes a good story. Somebody writes about it and. It takes its own life, it goes on.
Yeah, exactly.
But, in my opinion, it wasn't as bad as people say it was.
Okay.
So I was there. I saw it, basically.
That's nice.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Exactly, because we dream about these things, So I always, felt like, being on tour, sometimes you have to deal with people that really like to party, or that they like, to be high or stuff like that. So that's another story too, It's
Well,
like
there was that
tour
there.
manager.
I mean, Didi liked to get high, and CJ liked to party, and other, so it was all there,
Yeah, exactly.
I had to deal
So
with all
sometimes,
that too,
exactly, but it seems, you make it sound very normal. Of course, a good tour manager, is good enough to make it, sound like normal. But
Being on tour and on the road, there's nothing really normal, basically.
yes, you're right.
You
There is
really
a
got to
question
deal.
about that.
You got to deal with it day by day, different situations, and as I said, each day is totally different than the day before, and whatever is going to happen the next day. And that's what you have to deal with, is being a tour manager, a road manager, or a crew, or stuff like that.
Yeah, there is a question about this. What was the worst tour you remember where nothing went as planned?
No. I planned everything very well. All the tours went well. I got to say that. I mean, there's little bits and pieces inside the tour that happened that I had to deal with, but
Yeah,
I never had a bad tour. I'll tell you that.
that's beautiful.
We're talking about 2,263 shows out there. I was there for like over 2,200 of them, basically. So that's what you have to do. You have to get together and make sure you plan it well before you go on tour. That's the most beautiful part of being road manager, tour manager. Make sure you get everything together before you get there, before you go on tour, before you get to the country. It's kind of like an army going on out there to another country. You got to make sure you have the equipment together, all the little bits and pieces, the crews and all the stuff. You got to make sure before you go out there that's together. So when you get out there, you kind of minimize anything going wrong and take care of it on the road, basically.
I'm thinking about, we are having a festival in few days, and the fact that you say this now makes me more anxious, because it's like, no, I did not. I really didn't do enough before the festival, so I'm gonna go there and it's gonna be disastrous.
Why are you not doing enough? Do more.
Exactly. Pre-work. I'm with you.
The more you do now, the less hassle you're going to have later. That's my whole philosophy.
It's true. It's true. No, that's a really good advice, because it's true. I live that. The tours that are planned way in advance and by competent people with good promoters, like, you go there, even if something goes wrong, you minimize the problem, because everything has been planned, and you know what you have to do, the situation and stuff like that. Is exactly. Actually, if you're rushing to things and trying to fix things last minute, and then even worse things happens normally during that moment,
Absolutely.
So you're totally right. So how much in advance a tour for the Ramones was booked, organized?
In what way, you mean?
No, because a band that is touring so much, like, you have to be touring and at the same time booking a new tour for the future or for the year after or stuff like that. So,
I had enough time in between, a few weeks. I come off the road, we had a few weeks between tours, or maybe a little more than that, to organize the next one. So it wasn't too hectic. I wasn't on the road and working on another tour, basically. I had enough time in between tours to work on the next one,
Yeah. Because it seems like now you have to plan things well, not in the pandemic, but let's say in the touring situation before the pandemic, you had to tour. For example, you want to go to US, like a 30 days tour in US and stuff like that. You have to plan it 1 year in advance, for my European band.
It wasn't that far in advance. I mean, if I knew back in those days, I'd have to plan on like visas and stuff like that, and work papers to go to get in England, and those would take a little more time to in advance. I mean, now I don't think you need, I don't think you need visas basically now to get into countries. So
to come to Europe, you should need it, but you don't need it. To go to UK, yes,
you need work permits for UK.
Yeah,
back then, I don't know what it's like now. Basically, that always have to be planned, in advance, well in advance, things like that.
But yeah, for us to go to US, yes, you need work
Yeah, it's
visas and
different. It's
that's
different there.
artist visas. So it's let's see.
Questions?
Yeah, no, I have many actually, but you have one, Andrea. But let's see. Um, we have a couple ones from our friends from Pogozin, and which are we say hi to Chich that is following. How can you explain that a band like the Ramones has become a real institution and continues to have a generational turnover of fans? But some bands, they even if they're iconic and beautiful band, they don't have so much, turnover of fans. It's true. Like there is new young kids that are fans of the Ramones.
I think I pointed out before. Kids that never saw the band just pick up on the Ramones because they could play it. They could pick up a guitar and play the Ramones songs. There's a million videos out there. All these kids playing Blitzkrieg Bop and all these other songs because it's not that complicated, really, and it's a good song, and they could play it instead of playing a Yes song or something.
There's a couple of very young girls from UK. They're very good. It's like one girl that plays guitar and the other that sings. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them. A lot of them are out there. There's a bunch of them.
Then
I don't remember the name.
Another question: do you have a favorite Ramones album and song?
Oh yes, I do have a favorite Ramones song. This is easy for me. I like a lot of Ramones songs, basically. But this would be hard if I didn't like this one song. It's on End of the Century, and the song's called All the Way. You guys know why I like that song?
Because you mentioned it.
Yeah, Joey wrote me into the song. So how can I not? That'd be my favorite Ramones song. Monte's driving me crazy. It's like being in the Navy. That's my favorite Ramones song. And he also talks about a lot of touring and the Monitor Men. And if you listen to the lyrics of that song, it's very interesting.
Yes.
Joey talks about a lot of different things in that song, and I get mentioned in the song.
That's beautiful. Actually, the next Ramones record to have the reissue treatment with the special edition and stuff is going to be End of the Century.
Yes. So, that's
do you know anything about it? Do you have news about it?
Because Ed Stacey, my good pal Ed out there. Hello, Ed Stacey, terrific producer, and he's working on it. There's several other. The first couple albums came out on box sets, and they did a very nice job. And Ed was responsible for doing a lot of work on that. Yeah. This is the last one. Hopefully, it'll come out soon. There's a lot of technical problems with people, this and that, legal stuff that's got to be taken care of. So it'll be coming out soon. Hopefully, I don't have. Is this
going to be the last one?
No, they want to release all of them in the box sets.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Cool. That's a beautiful news.
As far as I know.
This is the one I'm most interested in. I mean, I have them all. I have them here. But that one in particular, knowing that it's going to get the full treatment, and there's going to be, I read, a version of the record that is not produced. So basically the basic tracks with Ramones playing.
Yeah, without the Phil Spector treatment you're talking about?
Yeah.
What attracted you to that album?
Sorry, what did you say?
What attracted you to that album? Why do you say that's one of your favorites?
Oh, well, first of all, it's one of my favorite Ramones albums in general. I'm a huge fan of Phil Spector. So I'm a huge fan of Phil Spector and a huge fan of the Ramones. So you can imagine how much I like that album. But I also like the fact that to have a new listen to it, a new, a different version of totally different. I always thought about, let's listen to this record just like the Ramones play live, so that I always had that in mind. So without the production, I like the production. I really like the fact that in my opinion, you can see a lot of joy in that album. His voice, the pop attitude, the more, ballads and love songs and stuff like that. So you see a lot of joy, and joy is my favorite Ramone.
Spector really worked with Joey more closely than the other guys because it was like Ronnie Spector, Joey type of connection there. Actually, Joey worked with Ronnie Spector. Song for her. I did a few jobs with Ronnie Spector after the Ramones retired. I worked with her. She's a beautiful person. Wonderful. If you ever get to see her, go see her. She's amazing.
Yes.
Is it true that Phil Spector was very interested in Joey even to the point that he talked about making a solo career with him.
I
Or it's
think
just
so. I think it was in the back of his mind because he really kind of favored Joey a lot, and Joey loved Phil Spector, and
of course, yeah.
so yeah, I think in the back of Phil's mind, I think probably, but you know where he ended up basically in prison and died in prison. What a shame. He was a terrific producer, but we didn't realize how crazy he was before we went into the studio with him, you know. And there's several stories in my book about that.
Yeah.
He was, boy, it was difficult working with him. The Ramones didn't realize how crazy he was. And they really respected him before that. Actually, in 1977, there's a picture in my book of him coming to the Whiskey when we played the Whiskey. He came backstage and he loved the Ramones back in 1977. He looks like the devil. He had a cape on, a devil beard and stuff, and where they had his bodyguards and his guns and stuff. He came backstage, and there's a picture of him in the book, and he loved the Ramones, loved them.
That's awesome. And what is your favorite album? You said like the favorite song. So your favorite album is End of the Century, or you have another favorite?
Here's the Phil Spector picture.
Oh yes, that's a famous.
He looks like the devil. In 1977, he came back to the Whiskey and said, "Hey, I love you guys. I want to do something." Took them 1989 before he got to work with the band. My favorite album, they're all of them. I like. That's what I said. It's hard. There's each album has a different song that I like, and so there's lots of. I can't really pick one album. Basically, one song I can pick, not an album.
Yeah, I see. And talking about the you know, there is a lot of Ramones fans that, you know, don't like the Phil Spector production, or they wished the Ramones would have recorded the album just like they did with you know, the previous ones. But talking about in general about their career, was there, in your personal opinion, a path they took or a producer they took that you wished they didn't do, like something like a choice they made that you were like, oh, this is not their best for their career, or they wish they did something different?
No, basically, never bothered me the different people they chose. The thing is, they wanted to have a hit, you know. They wanted to have a hit. They wanted to get on the radio, and in the United States, they couldn't get on the damn radio in the United States. So after, you know, working with Tommy and Ed, they're terrific. They really had great, you know, they were wonderful producers. They decided to let's bring in somebody else up. Maybe we'll get a hit, you know. Graham Gouldman, Phil Spector, Jacques Beauvoir, Daniel Ray, et cetera, et cetera. Let's try to get on to a hit song, you know.
Yeah.
And it didn't bother me. Fine, you know. I worked with all of them. It's wonderful working with all these different producers. It didn't bother me. I didn't have any negative opinion about any of that, really.
Okay.
I have a question. Like the mid '80s are considered the Ramones like kind of less inspired era, which is wrong in my opinion, because I don't see any not inspired moment in the Ramones career. But there has been. Did you feel that? Did they feel this? Like their mid '80s were a tough time to live in?
Yeah, I mean, basically the late '80s when Dee Dee started to like not being there. That was rough. I mean, he was like getting to his end, you know. So when we were playing shows, he really wasn't there all the time, you know. And he wanted to get out of, as he says, the Ramones army. So those periods when he was started to, you know, deteriorate, not produce as a Ramone when he was terrific Ramone, you know, up there on stage, that was a rough time. Luckily, CJ came in, and that boosted the Ramones up. As I say, when CJ came in, they kind of had to suck their stomachs in to keep up with him, you know. He really rejuvenated the whole band. I think he pointed that out in your interview, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is terrific. And then the good part about that is we had Dee Dee left the group, but he kept on writing for the band. So we had the great songs of Dee Dee Ramone and the terrific CJ bringing the band up a level back to where Dee Dee was in the beginning. So that was great. But as I said, the late '80s when that happened with Dee Dee, you know, things were sinking a little bit for them, you know.
Yeah. And let's see. I have other questions here. I'm sorry if I go from one to another, but I have so many. Still about touring. In your book, there are many memories and experiences with the Ramones. If you had to remember one in particular, to mention one in particular, what would it be?
As the Ramones song goes, touring, touring is never boring. That's a great song, by the way. No, come on. I was there for 2,200 shows. For God's sakes, there was so many of them. That's why I write a lot about it in the book, you know. Talk about Italy. I'll tell you one show was terrific.
Exactly. Tell me about the first things that comes to your mind about Italy.
Well, I remember
beside the Ramones fan club.
Well, first of all, as I said, because of the Ramones, the Italian fan club was terrific. When we went there, we had big support. One thing that stood out: in front of the Vatican, the Castillo San Angelo. We played in front of that castle there. You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah,
that was an experience. Right in front of the Vatican, there was outside. There was a castle. That was a terrific experience. That was one of them.
Yeah,
There's a million other places that we played. It was terrific.
There is a cool video. It was on national TV from that show.
Yeah. I remember that. Just being in front of the Vatican and the castle there behind us and stuff like that. That was amazing. That was amazing. Love playing in Italy. We had a lot of good shows in Italy. It was terrific. Nice. I mean, there was one time we played Rome in a circus tent, I believe. That was amazing. The circus was in town, and the tent was empty. We went in there and played in the tent and stuff like that. It's just beautiful. Milan had a lot of good venues there, and Florence, love Florence.
Nice.
Florence.
Yeah. The footage from Rome, was it from 81 or 82 or something like that? Is it in black and white? Because I remember I saw that one.
In full color, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's color.
Yeah, okay.
But I believe
let's see.
1980 or something.
Yeah.
I should check out the dates, but
another question
that
we got
was in Milan in 1996, and you already know that was the last time you guys were touring, right? In 1996.
Yeah, they had an idea they want to stop at the time, basically. Yeah.
And how did you felt about that?
I'm sorry, what?
How did you felt about the fact that you knew that was coming to an end, and what you thought about your job and stuff? Like, what did you say? Like, I have to find a new job or a new band.
Over the years, there's a few times they said we're ending. I didn't really believe it until the last show when Johnny moved to LA, and it was pretty much definite that was going to happen. Yeah, it was not a good moment, and I worked, as I said, I went out and worked with a little Ronnie Spector and Degeneration, so I kind of kept busy at the time. But it was a shock. I mean, being there for all those years, 2,200 shows and one band, it was a shocker. Yeah. I think in my book that I wrote, "Hi, this is Monte Melnick. I'm a recovering tour manager."
Yes.
That's what I felt like, just to recover from all that,
Yeah.
Do you think if they still were alive, there would have been a reunion?
Yes. I think if Joe was in good health and the money was out there, Johnny would have said, "Yep, let's do it. Let's get together. Let's do it." I think he would have gone for it. Joey would, unfortunately, he needed to be in good shape and he wasn't. So they ended it. Johnny kind of ended it. He said, "Well, let's end it now on a high note." And that's what they did.
I have another question here. Do you have a period in particular of the Ramones that musically, as a stage performance, you prefer? Like there was a moment or a lineup that you felt like, okay, this is the highest moment as a show, as a, energy, as their pick, their moment that you felt like, okay, this is the best band in the world, and they are their highest.
I mean, there are 8 different Ramones over the years. 8 different Ramones. I include Elvis in there. He played 2 shows for the Ramones. I include him in it. And there's still all the different combinations of the Ramones. And they were all great. But I think 1977, 78, the Rainbow Theater show with the original lineup, it's a live album. I think that captured the Ramones on a high point that was hard to duplicate at the time.
Yeah.
And after that, but that was terrific. I loved that show. And actually, I was working sound for that show. I was on the soundboard for that show, by the way.
Nice.
So I got a little more of experience in that one than the other shows. That the original group was terrific, but they're all there in different ways.
Yeah.
I can't really. I mean, that the original group was terrific, but the other groups were really good in different ways too.
Yeah. That's nice. And another question I had regarding that. Oh yeah, you mentioned Elvis Ramone. It's a lot of people ask about it, and it's a curious. There's even a documentary about him. I didn't catch him yet, but I don't know if they're mentioning when they talk about him about his experience with the Ramones. But how was that? Like,
I hope they do. He was a great guy. I mean, Clem Burke, of course, is his name, and he's still with Blondie now. And at the time, Richie left very abruptly.
Yep.
And Gary Kurfus was the manager of the band, and he also managed Blondie and Talking Heads and B-52s. And the Blondie wasn't doing anything; they were off the road. But Clem was always around CBGBs. He was good friends with the Ramones, and I think he really wanted to be in the Ramones at the time. And they took publicity pictures with him. The problem was he didn't have enough time to really develop the style that Tommy developed. Now, Tommy wasn't a drummer; he was a guitar player. He just wanted to manage the band and produce them. He didn't want to be in the band basically. So when he pulled Joey off the drums, Dee Dee was having trouble singing and playing bass. They pulled Joey off the drums, and Joey started singing. They needed to find a drummer, and nobody could really understand. In the early years, they were so raw. No drummer could understand what they were doing. But Tommy, being a great musician, sat in and said, play like this, play like this. So he joined the group. So when Tommy left and Marky came into the band, Tommy actually worked with Marky for a while because, Marky's a great drummer. It comes from Dust, terrific drummer. But it took him, Tommy was a guitar player who developed this style for the Ramones. It was a totally different thing, So he was able to work with Marky a bit. So Marky was easily worked into the group. But when Richie left abruptly, we had all these shows. Gary Kurfus, the manager, said, "Hey, it's easy. Go play with them. It's no problem. It's not that easy. It's very structured and tight. It's very tight. Any little bit out of these set, you're going to notice with the Ramones.
Yeah.
So he tried. Unfortunately, and he didn't have time to work with the Ramones. So the two shows he played, they were okay, but you notice that wasn't tight enough. If he had enough time, he would have worked well into the band, no problem, because he being a great drummer. Lucky enough, Marky came back, and of course, Clem went on with the Blondie, made a hell of a lot more money than probably with him being in the Ramones. I'll tell you that. So it worked out well for everybody at that time. That's the Elvis Ramone Clem Burke story. The reason they called him Elvis was, they all wanted names like Joey, Johnny, Dee Dee. It's like rhyming,
Yeah.
They couldn't fit Clemmy Ramone really wouldn't work,
Yeah.
He's Elvis for some reason. They picked Elvis.
It's just because his haircut, or
I don't know why they picked that. That's a good question. There's no one around for me to ask that right now.
Well, actually, Marky points out what you just said in the Hall of Fame, speech, saying he thanks Tommy Ramone because he made the formula that Marky tried so hard to replicate. He used these words, and Marky's a fantastic drummer, but still, he had to, force himself to replicate his formula.
Yeah, that's why in the beginning when the drummers came in and auditioned for their band, nobody could understand. They were so raw back then. It was very, very raw, and they didn't understand anything. None of the drummers could understand what was going on. So, but Tommy sat down and said, "Play like this, and he invented the whole thing.
Yeah,
just the whole style or drumming style. It's amazing.
Cool.
Great musician, Tommy. I really miss him.
Yes, absolutely. And another question, I really love the story of CJ getting auditioned for to join the Ramones, and the fact that he had a lot of trouble with the military force that he was in, and he had to be in custody. And all that stuff, and I wanted to know your side of the story, because of course you were there for the audition and you knew, who they had to pick to, as a bass player, and how it went. What do you remember about picking, deciding?
Well, funny enough, he was the first one to audition for them. Amazingly enough, yeah, he was the first one to come in. He came in and basically, he played with the band. I was outside, so they saw him more inside. But Johnny saw something in CJ. He said, "This guy, let's bring him back." After he went through a number of other bass players, he saw something in CJ. He was right. He was right, because CJ was a structured person coming. He was a good musician. He knew the Ramones songs. A big Ramones fan, and coming from the Marines, he was structured. He followed orders and stuff like that. So Johnny said, "This guy's going to work out. This guy's going to work out." Of course, he had crew cut and stuff like that. That was kind of radical at the time to go into Ramones. So he wore a hat basically in the beginning, but he grew his hair long. But Johnny saw something in him, and it really worked out well. And it was a pleasure working with CJ, coming from where Dee Dee was at the time when he left. Because Dee Dee was like downhill at the time, and having CJ come in was like wonderful. Because I was having problems dealing with Dee Dee. And have CJ in there said, be in the lobby at 8 o'clock, whatever. And he was down there, no problem. He followed orders. He was a Marine.
Yeah. Actually, I remember the first time I saw the Ramones, I went to the hotel. You guys were staying in the morning after. And I recall I was a kid. I couldn't speak much English. I was there just looking at them and took autographs. But I remember clearly that I had the chance to meet Joy and Johnny. And then Marky came down, and then the bus was ready to go, and CJ went running to the bus because he was late. But this is something that I remember. So I didn't take CJ's autograph at the time.
Yeah, all right.
That's my memory. And who was the second choice for the auditions when you picked CJ?
Exactly.
No, I never knew the second choice.
Okay, because I read a few articles online of memories. At least a couple guys that wrote memories of their audition for the Ramones Best Player role.
Yeah, I didn't know who the second choice was. Basically, no.
Yeah.
Oh, there is Anto Ramone asking a question, interesting question. Do you know what happened to all the memorabilia stuff in Arturo's Vegas home?
There's an Arturo Vega Foundation out there that's. He had a couple of storage units for the stuff, and I think Jane Friedman has control over that. There's the on First Street, 6 East First Street. Arturo lives on 6 East 2nd Street. Then there's the Howell Gallery. If you ever get to New York, go to Howell Gallery. It's terrific. It's called the Howell Gallery and the Arturo Vega Foundation. They have sometimes they do Arturo Vega shows there, paintings, but most of the stuff is in storage. I'm not sure exactly who has provenance over that stuff, But there's a lot of stuff he's got. And he was a terrific artist. He's got lofts full of his art. Was amazing, And he also collected a lot of art from like Warhols and Hamlins and different people over the years that he collected. So it's a lot of stuff out there that Arturo had.
There is the other thing that is interesting is that Ramones fans love you. I think, like we feel like you're one of us, like, you're a fan, but also Ramone. And they say, like, here, for example, Monte was more than just a tour manager. He had incredible patience, kindness, and an amazing ability to get things done while being surrounded by complete chaos.
Thank you, Larry, Music Man. Yes,
which is the definition of it. And this brings me to a question: was there ever a moment that you wanted to quit, or you were tired, or just?
There was a couple of moments I told them to go, in French, fuck themselves, whatever. I used to tell them, this is a joke I tell them all the time. What's the difference between a tour manager and a toilet bowl? Anybody know the answer?
Let's see if someone...
A toilet bowl only has to deal with one asshole at a time. I told them that joke a few times. They didn't like it.
I mean, the best story is always, I guess, it's from your book that the old lady that saw you at the gas station with the
Yeah, it's a famous story. We were driving around an early tours, so like late 70s, in some Texas town way in the middle of Texas, and it was like a 4 or 5 hour drive in the van. And so I pulled into the gas station convenience store. So they all stumble out, and the way they looked, Joey coming out and stumbling around, they're all stumbling around because they were, after a long tour, a long trip. So I pay for the gas, and the lady says, "It's sure nice of you taking care of those retarded boys." I said, "Yes, ma'am, that's my job." It's an old story.
with that text.
That gets around a lot.
Yeah, that's funny. It's too funny to not be
It's
mentioned.
true story. That's what she said. That's what they looked like. I mean, coming out. They didn't know who the Ramones were back in rural Texas at the time,
Well, drinking now brings me back that we have to mention our common friend from the Ramones Museum now in
Flo.
Berlin.
Love Flo, by the way. Hey ho,
yes.
Flo.
Yes.
Great guy.
A great little museum. If you ever get to Berlin, go there.
Yeah. It's
Wonderful place.
and the new location is even better than before. It's
it's nice. It's nice. It's funny that the only place in the world is a Ramones museum is Berlin. It should be really in New York, but still, it's okay there. It's nice to have it somewhere.
Yeah. Was it in your book that there was a feeling? I don't know if it late 80s or early 90s that you felt more appreciated outside of New York or outside of the States, and when you had to go back home, you felt like, oh, I have
Well, yeah, a lot of times we tour and do a lot of festivals in Europe and all over the world, and then come back and have to play like small clubs again. That was a little rough for them. I mean, we did a lot of festivals and bigger venues in the United States, but a lot of times, being that they were a touring group, they had to make the money on the road, so they were booked in a lot of smaller clubs.
Yeah.
Some cities didn't have the big venues, so we went into the little smaller venues. That was rough, coming from a big festival, coming into a small club.
Yeah.
That was a little rough on them.
And talking about more specific tour manager things, for example, like in the Ramones Museum in Berlin, you can see like the all the techniques and all the requests, the catering and stuff like that. So, was there specific things about the lodging, for example, like the hotels and stuff like that? Like when you had to travel the U.S. and stuff like that, which kind of hotels you went to? Or
Sure. Yeah. There's a whole. I think I put in the book. There's a hotel listing. I had to make sure that the hotels had big beds in them. I'd ask later on for like a good TV, CNN, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to separate the crews on a different floor from the band. And then make sure Johnny's room was not next to Joey's room, stuff like that. He didn't want to be next to Joey's room and stuff like that. Little quirky little things like that,
So you were doing that on the place, like you were going there, maybe you booked the hotel and then say like, okay, this is your room, and this floor, here is your room, or you planned everything ahead? Still?
Well, everything was in advance. I'd make sure I make sure that all the hotels in advance had the rooming lists. And then I call the day before, I call the hotel and say, you got the list. When I come in, I want keys and envelopes. I want rooming lists for everybody. So when they checked into the hotel, they wouldn't have standing around the lobby. I'd check in and say, here's the Ramones. They'd have a little basket with their keys, and I'd just give them out because they hated waiting a few times and wasn't fast enough for them. You come in after a long drive or something, you don't want to hang around the lobby waiting for your room. Yeah. So that's a good thing. You have to call in advance. The day before, you should call the hotels in advance and make sure you got the list. This is what I want. I'm going to be there, blah, blah, blah. That's a part of planning in advance. You got to work on that.
I'm writing everything down because, that's, so many fights waiting for their rooms, on tour with bands. So yeah, that's that's really smart.
Well, actually, I think in my book, I list
yeah. Now, that's the other thing, I read your book, so many years ago because, I got it in 2004 actually. And now I have to reread because, there is different layers of your book because probably when I read it back in those days, I was more interested in the Ramones. And now that, we do the same. You know, I did your job. Like now, I'm more interested in all the things I was not interested back in those days. You know, because you change your attitude and your perception of things. You know, when you're younger and stuff. Let's see here. Like a lot of people
You're getting
commenting.
old, Franz.
Yeah. But not experience. Still have to learn how to do the tour manager.
Thank you,
And how
Dave.
to. So
Dave
let's
Uhol is
see.
out there. I want to say hello to him. If Rima's
Yep.
out there, hello, Rima.
That's nice.
I don't see the comments here. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There are many. So, you guys ever use fake? Oh, ever used fake names of the hotels?
No, we didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
They used their real names, basically. So it wasn't like Johnny Ramone. It was like John
Yeah.
Cummings.
Yeah, that was different from the stage name, so that that was not needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we know
Let's see here.
how the Ramones name came from.
Paul
from
McCartney.
McCartney, so
Yeah, Paul McCartney when he checked in under Paul Ramone.
Here in Jake says, "Hey Monty, in 1985, the Ramones played in a small hometown, but full playback with rented instruments. I saw it on YouTube. I guess that happened not very often, that they played not a real live show."
I mean, usually shows in towns we'd play. Basically, I think he might have been thinking about the MTV shows or something, awards where they played to a playback.
Yeah.
But we never. I don't remember renting equipment for small towns like that. We always carried our own equipment around with us.
Yeah. Let's see
like
more.
Arthur is saying that he was there when the Ramones went to visit St. Peter in the 90s.
Oh, here. Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I missed
by the
that.
way, France, down there, that album down there, Alias Amigos. Can we pick that up for a second?
Of course.
No,
I
Adios-
prepared my room for. I prepared
Adios
the rooms
Amigos.
for you. Yeah. Sorry.
Turn to the back. Turn sort of back. You notice anything interesting on the back there?
Yes. Please tell me.
See the Mexican?
Yeah,
Yep.
That's
Not the
me. That's me.
No. That's beautiful.
So I'm on that's a good album I like because I'm on the back of a Ramones cover there. Arturo wasn't available. He's a real Mexican, but he wasn't there for the shoot. An interesting story on this. Notice, in the firing squad, usually they face the guns, but they had their backs turned. So the last album, they're kind of turning their backs on the music's world. That's a little
I see.
secret little meaning on that.
See.
That's why they did that.
I love this record. This way, rare to find on vinyl now.
Yeah, it's strange. I saw that the other day. I was looking for that. I don't know why it's that you can't get it.
Yeah,
they didn't print enough of them. I don't know.
Huh. And this is a really rare print too. For some reason, I got it when I was a kid, and still have it. And
I've got the repress, which is on gatefold.
Oh yeah. I think that is a bootleg. It's not a repress.
Is that?
There wasn't a gatefold originally, no.
Yeah, I think that there is no repress of this one.
Yeah, it's hard to get.
Yeah, Andrea is mentioning about the bootleg version of this, which is a nice gatefold version.
I'm not sure it's a repress. It's a Let Them Eat Vinyls print.
Yeah, I think is. Let's see if people says if it's a bootleg or not. I'm sure.
Yeah, that wasn't original.
This is not original. Okay. Well, I got it anyway. Because why not?
It looks good. I like the way they came out.
Yeah, it is.
Was there another band, another rock and roll band, or another band in general that you wished you could tour manage?
No, not really. I mean, I wouldn't mind going with a huge band like U2 or Pearl Jam or something like that. If they asked me,
Yeah.
But I was so busy with the Ramones, it kept me busy enough to not even think about that.
But and when you were touring with the Ramones, was there like another band that you maybe co-headlined or that you liked, that you said, "Oh, we are gonna meet this band, and I like them. I like meeting up with them or playing shows with them." There was
me personally.
yeah, like a band that you maybe they were opening for the Ramones for a couple of shows. Is that there was any band, small band, or other band that you liked?
Jethro Tull was nice. I like to see him.
Yep.
Opening up for U2 was nice. There was a weird experience in Barcelona. There's this big stairs that go up to the palace. Are you familiar with Barcelona? Barcelona, love place.
Yeah.
These huge steps. There was a big concert there on the top of the steps. Headlining the show was Mike Oldfield.
Okay.
And we opened up for him. That was weird,
Yeah.
It was like 100,000 people there. And we opened up for him, then coming off stage and listening to Tubular Bells was very weird. That was an experience.
Wow. Oh, let's see here. Oh, well.
Someone
So, how
says
do you-
that the Gatefold edition is repress. It's official from UK.
QK?
Okay.
Never saw that.
Okay.
All right.
Saved in corner.
Good.
But
I never saw that before.
Yeah, me neither. I need to get it. And is there something that you're planning to do Ramones related, or you would like to do? Like, you will update more the book in the next years? Or
Well, no, I mean, I just updated the book in the last year. So, I mean, it's pretty much have to wait a little while if I want to put another edition out,
Mm-hmm.
I just did something interesting called Stereo Dinner with Lenny Kay, from Patti Smith Group.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an interesting thing. They put together a bunch of people. You can get a nice restaurant, get a nice meal, and then you get to meet myself, and Lenny Kay was hosting it, and an intimate situation where you can talk to me and Lenny and stuff like that. That was very nice. I just did that recently. There come some pictures on the internet with that, Facebook and Instagram. That was nice.
Nice.
What are your plans? What are you doing? How is your life these days?
Well, the last year was pretty much nothing. A lot of podcasts,
Yes.
podcasts and interviews and stuff like that. Before this, I was working at the Queen's Theater. I'm kind of like back there working with the Queen's Theater, so performance theater in Queens. I do a little in-house managing there with them, so that's kind of nice getting back doing something.
Cool.
You're going back to that?
Yeah, I've been doing that last week.
Okay. That's nice.
Well, how is the situation right now in New York?
Good. It's like pretty much things opened up a lot,
Yeah.
How is it there?
It's opened up too much, maybe. In the last, yesterday, Italy won the European Cup in football, in soccer. And it was a night of big celebrations.
Wow,
But,
I can imagine because,
yeah, not a night that we should do during the pandemic, in my opinion. Also because they are really strict with shows right now, so we have to even our festival has to be socially distanced and with seated audience, but at the same time, and I'm a football fan, huge football fan, so from the other side I see how they react to people going to the stadium right now in Europe, or people celebrating in the street, and it seems like nothing ever happened. So it's kind of a weird situation right now. So
my idea for shows is we could have the audience dressed with the Italian shirt and the flag painted on the face, so we can have bands playing in front of football fans.
Yeah, we pretend it's a soccer match instead of a rock and roll show. That's a good idea.
You guys must be real happy with that outcome, right? With that's amazing, huh?
Yeah. No, it's I mean, yes, at least something good, But no, we are having the festival at the end of this week, and let's go to the main thing. What is gonna happen? Like, we are gonna launch the first Ramones record to the space. So it's what do you think? When you heard about it, what do you thought about it?
That's pretty wild. It's interesting. So you're going to send the record up and it comes back down?
Yeah.
So it just has to touch into space, and then how far up is it? How far up is it going? 15 miles?
About 30 kilometers or something.
Yeah, it's about 50 miles. Yeah, yeah. It goes
Yeah.
into the stratosphere and comes back. Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
enough to
it
see.
is not technically space, but still, you're gonna have a photograph of the first Ramones record, and you're gonna see the dark sky
Wow.
of space, and you're gonna see the Earth below it. So
Nice.
that's
Well,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
how's it?
do.
How's it
Flight
coming back? A
79.
parachute or something, or how
Yeah,
does
at
it?
the end he has a parachute. Yeah, it's basically one of a. I think they this company doing this is they are using like a NASA technique with the balloons and stuff. Like they when they experiment stuff, sending stuff up in the air. So they're sending up, and then they have a computer, a board computer, and tracking of the whole thing, so it's
Mhm.
secure and stuff like that. And when it comes down, he has a parachute, and they I meet up with them 1 week ago, and they explained me that this is the 20th time they done it, and every time they learn something new, so they are perfectioning the thing. They do it for marketing, so it's their way of if you have a brand or if you have something you want to promote, why not shipping it to the space, to promote it. And it just happened that of course we don't have the money to do something like that, for promotion, but they just heard about the festival and they heard about the spirit of the festival and the music, so they said, like, you know what, we're gonna do it for you, just because we like the Ramones and we like your festival, so we're gonna do that. So it's you know pretty impressive by them.
Nice. Very good.
And another nice thing is that people can get postcards at the festival and write their own message on it, and the postcards are going to be sent into space as well. So this
Yeah.
is fun.
Roughly, how many people come to the festival or coming? Roughly.
Well, normally when we have the festival before pandemic, it was hard because it's a free festival. It's free
Oh,
entrance, so
free.
there is it's not based in a place, but it's in the whole city. So we have events in the whole city during the week. So a little show in a bar and a little we have a map where you can follow the festival around in little places like tattoo parties and stuff like that. So normally when it's full capacity, the main venue is something about like 2,000-3,000 people. But of course, it's not going to be like, I think the maximum capacity we are going to have during this week is going to be like 800-900 people, because of course, you have to be more socially distanced and stuff like that. But it's incredible the fact that it's really transversal. Like, it's like you have families, you have kids, you have like punk rockers, and you have like people that is just interested in the whole thing. So it's kind of not a normal rock and roll festival, just like you say, like, there is nothing normal in a touring band or in a day of a touring band. There is nothing normal in our festival, as you can see from what we are doing this week.
Okie dokie. Any more questions?
No, I think we touched
Yeah, we did
everything
a
we had
lot
to ask.
here. We got a
Yeah,
lot of.
no, it's I have one more. I
Right.
always wonder about that. What do you think about the post Ramones careers of the different Ramones? Like, they are carrying the torch in a good way, or you think some is doing
Yeah,
because
I think they all. I mean, Marky basically he sticks with a lot of Ramon stuff. Which is
yeah,
good. CJ, as he pointed out the other day, he does Ramon stuff and his own stuff. Same with Richie. So it's good to have people still want to see Ramones play Ramones out there. It's not
yeah,
quite like the original group or anything, but there's still a big people want to see that. So they're kind of meeting a need, whatever's going on out there, which is fine. It's fine. You know,
Hmm.
that's good.
Perfect,
Keeps it going.
beautiful.
Keeps it going.
And last question: a message or a suggestion, or just like a something you want to say to young tour managers around the world that want to start, tour managing or driving around their favorite bands. What is the first, thing you want to suggest them from your
Well,
experience?
you got to work your way up. So pick a group that you like, hang out with them, start from the bottom, look, watch what happens setting up and life on the road. Things like from the bottom up. You got to work from the bottom up. Just kind of learn
Yeah.
all the different aspects of the whatever it takes to set up a band in a venue and go on the road. Just patience and work from the bottom up. That's the whole thing. There's really no book out there, tour manager book or anything. So get a group that you like and work. Start working with them early.
Perfect. Monty, you have been so gracious, kind, and patient, and we cannot thank you enough. We want you in our festival.
I'm ready to come to Italy. Please bring me back. I need that Prosecco and tiramisu. Let's say.
We want you there. We want you in touch.
Fantastic. Yes. Again, hey ho andiamo. Thank you so much. And this made us, even if we are in a moment that we are, trying to pre-work everything and not to be in chaos when we arrive to the festival, so we're in that moment right now, last little things, but just talking with you tonight has been a pleasure, and giving us a lot of good vibes.
I love Italy. Don't forget, on the road with the Ramones.
Oh yes, exactly. Get your copy, and the extra 40 pages, even if you got the original version, they're totally worth it.
Great.
Cool.
Terrific.
Thank you so much, Monty.
Thank you, Monty.
Hey ho, let's go to all the fans out there. Gabba Gabba Hey.
Yes. Good night, guys. Thank you so much. Hello to joining in, and we will see you at the end of this week. Maybe, hopefully. Bye, guys.
Ciao.